What about PETA for what?
I don't know. I mean, they probably think that it's cruel to do. I like the look, although I think the dog. Whoa! Hey!
What?
What was that?
What was what? Dubs?
What was that? Time out.
The Dubs comment?
What?
What are we laughing about? Fill me in.
All right, that's just mean. That can ruin people's careers right there.
What happened?
All right, listen. I've gotten you before with like the scantily clad lady in the shot behind me. That was mind numbing. Don't do that.
What is going on, everybody? Court is in session. Ryan in Sacktown with you. So it's the dog days of summer. We are pulling out of it fairly quickly, though. We've got NFL football and training camps going on. A lot of movement with the NBA and the schedule. We've got some news on that. I've told you earlier this week I expected the schedule to drop tomorrow. It will indeed drop tomorrow. But we have some news about, or I should say, some news we can confirm that is trickling out on the Kings' start of the season and the end of the season. I'll let you choose if you think it's good news or bad news. We're brought to you by Bennett's West Side Grill. Happy to have you here today on a beautiful Wednesday. The audio at the top. Do you remember not too long ago, the San Francisco Giants honored the 2014 World Series team? That audio was Chris Rose and Brian Wilson back in the day on Cheap Heat. Do you guys remember Brian Wilson? I mean, if you're a Giants fan, it's really hard to forget him, but just a notorious prankster, like to have a good time. He's doing a live interview in the machine. I'll let you figure out who the machine is. The machine comes walking behind him on camera, and one of the truly hilarious sports moments on those types of shows that I can remember. There's been some in the past. If you can think of some, let me know. Put them in the chat. Maybe we'll even pull them up, talk about them for a minute. We are still on Brandon Aiyuk watch. So what's going on there? I mean, all signs seem to point to the fact that the 49ers don't want to let this guy go. There's some reports circulating around social media suggesting that Aiyuk was actually out on the field today. Does that mean anything? Not dressed, not participating, but he was on the field. First time he had been spotted out there. So we can talk about that. Sea-Dog, yeah, man. I've got an opposite take here. It is a tough day for the Vikings. Not only do you learn that J.J. McCarthy will miss the entire season due to meniscus surgery, which seems odd to me. Does it seem odd to anybody else? I know the meniscus is kind of a weird area of the body because it can be minor, where you can rehab it. I know there's not a lot of blood flow that goes to that part of the knee, or it can be, in this case, like JJ McCarthy, going to cost him his entire season. Also, one of their receivers carted off the field today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Tough one indeed for the Vikings. But I guess my opposite take here is, if you're Sam Darnold, are you just kind of throwing your hands up and you're like, I thought I was supposed to be the starter. Why is it like now everybody's down? The season's going to be over because I'm starting? JJ McCarthy was not supposed to start, but he had a good preseason showing. And it just feels like, and we have this conversation every single year when the preseason rolls around, that you will see guys go down eventually, inevitably, for the season. But it seems like it has been so much longer, or so much more this year in terms of injuries. It's unfortunate. Kevin, what's up, my man? Well, dude, awesome, brother. I appreciate it. Don't speed, though. I mean, I can work around your schedule, Kevin, but I appreciate you getting home in time to catch the Kings Court. In fact, since we are the Kings Court, we might as well talk some Kings basketball really quick. We talked about, over the last couple days, the NBA schedule and its release. As I said just a few minutes ago, the schedule is set to be released tomorrow, right around 3 o'clock Eastern, so 12 o'clock our time. And we've known for a little bit, per reports, that the Kings will not have any national TV games for the NBA Cup play. There's been a number that I've been comfortable throwing around, which is 7 games that the Kings will have on national TV. And remember, that includes NBA TV. So the discussion became last night, are you feeling a little bit jaded? C-Dog pointed out the reports that say the Kings play the Lakers 3 times, 3 of the 4 times this season in an 9-day span. That seems like weird scheduling. There's no way around that. But my response to it was, I want to make sure there's no wacky lulls in the scheduling. Like last year, the Kings had a very late road trip to the East Coast. Listen to this road trip. They played New York, Boston, Brooklyn, and Oklahoma City late in the season. April 4th, April 5th, April 7th, and April 9th. Then they come home, finish the schedule out against New Orleans, Phoenix, and Portland. Man, that Portland game, that was a hard one to watch. Chauncey Billups just told his group, go out there, fire up as many threes as you possibly can, and we'll see where the chips fall. The Kings end up winning that one, 121-82. But back to my point, Sean Cunningham earlier today reported that the Kings will be starting out the season with 5 of their first 7 games on the road. I am hearing the exact same thing. That does not bother me as much as the back end of the report. 6 of the 9 final games this season for the Kings will be road games. And the reason I'm worried is because of that stretch that I just told you about. If the NBA sticks to form, and remember, Jerry and I talked about this on Tuesday, there's a lot of variables when it comes to doing the schedule. As funny as it is, these basketball arenas that host home NBA games sometimes get bumped. They don't get priority because of other events going on in the building or things that come to that city once a year. So the NBA has to balance all of those variables. On top of that, the TV schedule. You've got to make sure that your partners are getting the games they want when they want them. So when I look at that stretch, New York, Boston, Brooklyn, Oklahoma City, 4 games out of 7 that were on the road to finish the year, I'm a little bit worried that it's going to be brutal. And I don't want to ring any alarm bells here, but I look at the way that sets up, and it doesn't particularly sit right, because I think about teams the Kings usually play towards the end of the year. The Lakers typically used to be one of those teams. Last year, they were not. And the Kings had a brutal road trip to end the year. Then they had, you could even argue to a degree, the Kings last year, they had a weird road trip that was an 8-game road trip, which is not usually a number that you deal with in the NBA, usually 6, 7, but 8 was a little bit different. But I wonder if the Kings are going to be backed into this same corner to end the season. Certainly, you play 82. I understand that argument. But for a team that last year was fighting to make the play-in, that's going to be a very, very hard way to finish the season, regardless of who you're playing. 6 of 9 potentially on the road to end the year. Yeah, Sea-Dog, it's not a bad point. They do play better on the road. They do, but that time of year, it's such a wild card. It is such a wild card because you don't know who's going to be hurt. You don't know what's going on. And, 7 national TV games. Is it that big of a deal to me? Not really. I don't care. I think that there is an element where this team has or could have a chip on their shoulder when it comes to those things, not being recognized, not getting the run, not winning the awards. Certainly, I don't think there's any debate here in Sacramento and probably nationally either that Malik Monk should have been 6th man of the year. Come on. That was a slight. And then Domantas Sabonis, how do you make an all-NBA team, yet you're not an all-star? And what's going to be really interesting is that Netflix docuseries, much like the Receivers show they have, will be coming out fairly soon, which certainly will be interesting as Sabonis will be featured on that. Damn right. Good job by you, Deadhead. Grant and I will be back at 8 o'clock tonight if you want to hear that voice. He had a little bit of tech issues last night. I think we've got those figured out. But I do have a couple stories about the double standard right now in announcing. We may get to those as well. So a lot to talk about. Also, one NFL coach's very unique, and I mean really unique, way to deal with fights in practice. I'm not sure if I agree with it. We could talk about it. Another question for you. Does the NBA have a the NFL have a domestic violence issue? The latest arrest, and I'm being kind by saying arrest, of Mike Hall Jr., awful. So I did a little bit more digging, and it's actually a little bit eye-opening when you look at the number of occurrences of domestic violence in the NFL versus the average in society for males amongst the same ages. We can talk about that. Have you been watching Hard Knocks? So I am only through one episode, which heavily featured Caleb Williams. I found it to be pretty interesting. Certainly want to get your takes on that. And then certainly, as I said at the top, the 49ers, the Brandon Ayuk situation as the Niners head into play the Saints week 2 of the preseason schedule. In fact, let's run down the schedule right now for you. I'm not sure. I know a lot of people aren't big on the preseason. I really like the preseason. I think it's a time that guys get to show what they could do in roles that sometimes they won't get to play in the regular season. Sometimes they won't even be on the damn roster. So for that reason, I do enjoy the preseason, but sometimes the football, not always the best. Totally get that. So your week 2 games kicking off tomorrow. You got Philadelphia and New England on the NFL Network, if you have that. Then you've got Atlanta and Baltimore on Saturday. You got the Bengals and the Bears that will be featured on Hard Knocks this coming Tuesday. You've got the Giants, Sea-Dog, the Giants and the Houston Texans, Detroit and Kansas City. Then Minnesota and Cleveland. We've talked about Minnesota, some of the losses that they've gone through. The Niners are in that same boat. The Niners have, and that's why this Brandon Ayuk situation to me just seems like they've got to find a way to push it through. We had a question last night. I brought up what Tyreek Hill did with the Miami Dolphins him and the Dolphins restructured his contract in a way to where it was able to get the team under the cap, even though Tyreek was going to get more guaranteed money. Can the Niners find a way to get creative with Brandon Ayuk? Maybe find it. I'm certainly of the opinion that Brandon Ayuk should not get exactly what he asked for from San Francisco. He is playing out the last year of his contract. And really, here's a bigger question for you Niner fans. And I don't want to have the conversation about the Niners having a spoil of riches in terms of skilled players and personnel, because quite frankly, even though Kyle Shanahan cannot close out a game for his life, I really wish he could. And that's coming from a Seahawks fan. It is hard sometimes to watch how he has blown games. Last year, the overtime rules, offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. But the one thing you can't deny is his system works. Whatever he brings to the table, it has worked. Now, hasn't always worked in crunch time, but obviously he's not the one on the field. He's not the one making the plays. So I go back to this question with Brandon Ayuk. The way that the karma has been around 49ers training camp this offseason, you still don't have Trent Williams signed to a contract, although all indications are that's going to settle itself and he'll be in camp. Larry Krueger, who spoke to the Niners offensive line coach, thinks that 7 to 10 days is really what Trent Williams needs to get ready. But Brandon Ayuk, if you take him out of the Niner system, is he a legitimate number one receiver? Is he one of those guys that can put the team on his back with not as good or is not as high, or they don't have as much talent around them offensively as he does here in San Francisco? If you put him on Dallas with Dak Prescott, what's that look like? Could he do what CeeDee Lamb's doing? Is he really a $30 million receiver a year? And I don't know the answer to that. I do know that everybody, to be in a winning franchise, to be with a winning team that's sustainable, that is long-term. Look at what Jalen Brunson just did with the New York Knicks. Now, I'm not advocating for you going out there and leaving $100 million on the table. However, you do have to make some sacrifices along the way. You can't take the entire damn bag. So that leads me to my next point. Brock Purdy. What's that going to look like in a year? And you know the Niners, as much as they don't want to think about it, that's what this is about at the end of the day. They know that that could be very easily a quick way to close that window up a little bit, make it slide shut a little faster than it currently is, because that's going to be a really, really big payday. And I know most Niners fans think Brock's worth the money. No doubt that you pay the man. He's shown that he can perform in the clutch when he is not hurt. I mean, his body of work is incredible, but I go back to the Shanahan system as well. You know, that system can turn, just like his dad's system could do with running backs. That system can turn quarterbacks, 7th round quarterbacks, into stars. Not trying to take anything away from Brock, because I think that he is an incredible leader. I like what he does. Don't want to take that away from him. But there does have to be a little bit of sacrifice, in my opinion. And that's part of winning. It just is. So, does Brandon Ayuk take a little bit less than he's asking for? I think so. There's a reason the Niners have not signed off on the trade that allegedly is in place with Pittsburgh right now, because Pittsburgh is definitely ready to move forward. Kevin hopping in on the conversation. Wide receivers are easier replaced than a franchise quarterback. Don't disagree. Look, a lot of Niners fans are like thinking this is a 3, 4, 5-year window. George Kittle getting older. Trent Williams, he's 36. I guess my point is, isn't this got to be the year for San Francisco? You can't even look to 2025 when you host the Super Bowl. This absolutely has to be the year for San Francisco, in my opinion. Haunted Horse hopping in on the conversation. He's a wide receiver 2 on Dallas, Detroit. Miami, Vikings, Houston, Rams. He's a wide receiver 3. Interesting, coming from a Niners fan. 49ers can still win without Brandon. I say trade him. See, it's that tug and pull that I worry about there, because you've gone all in to get to this point right now. This is the year, if you are the San Francisco 49ers, that you have to get it done. You can't think about any other year but this one. So if you've come this far, why not do it? And it's not like Brandon's value is going to go down, by the way. I would assume if he continues to perform as a $30 million wide receiver a year, he's going to have value still to other teams if you end up moving on and blowing it up. Let's see, Peter. 49ers had to let Eric Armstead go this offseason. Kyle Juszczyk had to take a pay cut from $6 million to $3 million. Exactly right. So I guess, and Grant's the one to answer this, and we've had the conversations before, but I find it to be a very interesting conversation about the dynamics where teammates are taking a little bit less to be a part of something bigger. But then you have teammates that might not fall in that same camp. They want to get their maximum dollar. And I wonder how that works in a locker room. Many times Grant says business is business, play is play. They're completely separate. Guys don't judge each other for the way they conduct their business. But, it's not just the 49ers that are having trouble, by the way, when it comes to their players. How about the Jets? Could the Jets have a worse situation going on right now? You've got Robert Saleh, who's hanging on by a thread to his job, and it is tied to the loose wagon that is Aaron Rodgers, who has not played football in just about a year. You make a deal to bring Hassan Reddick in from the Eagles. You spend a second-round pick with an agreement. And here's the problem, and this has been a hot debate today. Is a gentleman's agreement worth anything anymore in the NFL? If you look at Hard Knocks, the in-season version with the New York Knicks, it was really interesting to see the way that New York's GM handled the Saquon Barkley situation and how that was all set up. Because, C-Dog, you're a Giants fan. You watched that. There was a gentleman's agreement between Saquon's camp and the Giants that said, look, we're going to go out and test the market. We're going to let you do that, but come back. You'll give us an opportunity to match the offer. Is that good? Are we good there? And that's ultimately what happened. Now, in Hassan Reddick's case, he's stepping back on his agreement. He told the Jets he would not hold out, but here he is requesting a trade. He never reported to Jets training camp. Did not report to any of the offseason workouts. So the Jets, they cannot get out of their own way. I almost feel bad for him. And then we were having a really good discussion, or Grant last night was telling us a really good story about his relationship with Aaron Rodgers. And I don't want to give it all away because I know we're probably going to talk about that tonight at 8 o'clock. The New York Post came out with a really interesting article detailing the relationship between Aaron and his parents. You remember his girlfriend, Olivia Munn. You remember the fracture with the family and the drastic left turn that Aaron Rodgers took, for better or for worse. I'll leave that up to you to decide. But it was a drastic turn. And so Grant laid out some of the behaviors, the communications that he had with Aaron up until a point, and then things kind of stopped. They just stopped. And it's consistent with what's in the article. And those that don't know, Ian O'Connor is coming out with an unauthorized autobiography on Aaron Rodgers. So not only do the Jets have to deal with the fact that they are an underperforming team, the pressure is on them to win in one of the biggest media markets in the world. You don't know if the quarterback's Achilles is going to hold up. And now you've got a book coming out, and the quarterback's already under pressure because he said, we've got to take this serious. Football is everything. You got to be in the building. You can't miss a day. And guess what? He took a trip to Egypt on an unexcused absence. So a lot of meat on that bone that I want to get to too. So we've got a lot to talk about. If you want to call the show, we would love to have you. You can use the QR code that is above me, or I'll put it right back in the chat. Speaking of the chat, let's go back there really quick. Haunted Horse, the day Aaron Rodgers retires will be a fantastic day. So we don't have to hear about him anymore. It really is a fascinating story. There's no ifs, ands, ors about it. It is fascinating. Now, the sad part is it's somebody's life. It's a family. It's their world, right? But you look at the dynamics and how things changed and how Aaron's always been, reportedly, I've never met Aaron Rodgers, reportedly just a different dude, just beat to his own drum. But to get a little glimpse behind the curtain and realize he's been dealing with all of this BS for so long, yet he was able to win how many MVPs, win a Super Bowl, be one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League. It's quite interesting stuff. Alex hopping in. I've been telling all my 49er buddies, if it's going to happen, it has to be this year. More negative dominoes will fall since Purdy signs next year. Already have Super Bowl fatigue from being so close yet so far. Certainly. And here's the other deal. Has anybody played more football than the 49ers in the last 2 or 3 years? They have played a lot of football. And when you play late into the season like them, that matters. That is a lot of football, a lot of attrition. In fact, let's bring Dorian in on the conversation. What is up, Dorian? How you doing today, brother?
What's going on, Ryan? Great to see you, brother.
Good to see you, man.
Of course, I don't mean to change the conversation, Ryan, but I know that you've been wanting to talk a little bit about CrossFit and what happened with Lazar.
Yeah.
And as you know, I'm a fitness guy. I've been doing CrossFit since 2015. I competed at a high level in CrossFit. Back then, you did the Open, you got a spot to regionals, and then you went to the CrossFit Games. Now it's much more different. Now you do the Open. If you're the top 25%, you go to quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Quarterfinals, semifinals, go to the CrossFit Games. But there's been a really big shift in CrossFit. A lot of people associate CrossFit with the sport of CrossFit, and they're very two different things. Fitness at a local level, CrossFit gyms here in Elk Grove and Sacramento and Roseville, there are competitive people, but that's very much different than the sport of CrossFit, which is the CrossFit Open, the CrossFit Games, the CrossFit, sanctionals, all this stuff. But I think what happened with Lazar was very, very, very sad. I mean, I was watching a stream where you put up the photo with the two paddleboarders right there.
Yeah.
I don't know if the paddleboarders saw him or if they did not, or if they just thought that he was just kind of struggling, but he's fit enough to put himself up out of that situation. But what really got me was the fact that they rescued him 30 minutes after the event. I mean, that's pretty tragic for, to rescue his body after the event is over, being the first event, and 30 minutes after, his brother's asking, where the heck is my own brother?
Right.
Because his brother was also competing in the CrossFit Games alongside him.
Yep.
And that's really sad. For me, I competed at CrossFit Regionals on a team. Back when it was a team of 6. Now it's a team of 4. So it's just really sad, man, for the CrossFit community, the people that participate in the sport of CrossFit and that follow the CrossFit Games. The sport of CrossFit has been slowly dying because there's been a really big disconnect between local CrossFit affiliates and the CrossFit Games. And
I'm glad you brought that up.
And how it's marketed.
Yeah, give everybody a quick dial them in on that really quick.
Sure. If you're a CrossFit gym, if you're a part of CrossFit Elk Grove or CrossFit 916 or CrossFit Sacramento or all these different CrossFit gyms, a fee in order for you as a business to be called CrossFit is $4,500 per year. It used to be $3,000. CrossFit's model is an affiliate model, right? They gain their money from CrossFit seminars, from trainers, to people that want to go get their CrossFit level 1 all the way up to level 4. They're about $1,000 plus per certification. So, and there's seminars going on every weekend. So CrossFit is making their money from local CrossFit gyms for that $4,500 affiliate fee and the seminar. That's the bulk of their money. Most of their money does not come from competition. They have shown that they aren't even really a profitable business from the sport of CrossFit, but there are people that are really fit that want to participate in the sport of CrossFit, right? And that's why they partner with so many different brands like Rogue. Rogue is a fitness equipment supplier, GoRuck, Noble is an apparel company for CrossFit and fitness. So they gain a lot of sponsorships and a lot of money from these partners, which then they have these purses, right, for the winners of the CrossFit Games, winners of CrossFit Sanctionals or semifinals and all these different competitions. But the bulk of money is coming from affiliate fees, which are $4,500 per business in order for you to call yourself CrossFit, and CrossFit seminars, which are about $1,000 per person plus in order for you to receive a certification for that weekend to become a CrossFit trainer at a CrossFit gym.
Dorian, is there a split in the community if you're affiliated with a gym that does pay the fee to be a CrossFit affiliated gym versus one that's not?
100%. There is a stigma that if you do CrossFit programming, but you don't call yourself a CrossFit gym, people that are in the CrossFit community have like, oh, you're not really a CrossFit gym. You just do CrossFit programming, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And there is a slight disconnect in the community, especially, I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. And although I'm not a member of a CrossFit gym anymore, I still do follow a little bit of the CrossFit community. And I have a lot of members, I have a lot of friends that being a fitness professional that coach at CrossFit gyms. So I'm still kind of a part of it. And I still follow a little bit of the CrossFit Games. Some of my friends participated at CrossFit Sanctionals and the games. And there is a slight disconnect if you do CrossFit programming at a non-CrossFit gym. People don't really take you as seriously.
Okay, so let's go through this really quick. So if you're just tuning in, you're like, what the heck are they talking about? Is that Dorian below him? No, that is Lazar Dukic. He tragically passed away at the CrossFit Games, passed away participating in the first event. And so I guess to your point about him being an athlete that probably could have or should have theoretically been able to get himself out of that situation, Dorian, even if we remove the two, and I don't know if they were lifeguards, I don't know if they were volunteers, because I know CrossFit has a ton of volunteers that help out with the events. You remove them from the situation. I guess the question becomes, how is there not two eyes for every athlete that's in the water?
Yeah, totally. And I believe it's in the Olympics or any sort of like big swim event, right? There's always two people watching that swimmer, right? Is that correct, Ryan? Do you know about that?
100%. We talked about that with the Olympics. Yeah,
sure, 100%. And I don't know CrossFit's protocols. I'm not trying to speculate on what happened with Lazar, but I think there was some sort of negligence in the protocols of the safety of the athletes. Now, with that, CrossFit and the person that programs CrossFit is Dave Castro. Dave Castro is a former Navy SEAL. Dave has been programming the CrossFit Games mostly since its inception. People are speculating that his programming is too hard or it's negligible. These are professional athletes. These are professional athletes in the sport of fitness. I read a stat the other day that there were 22 deaths in a triathlon this past year, or people passed away, obviously. Now, normally the swimming event isn't first. It's the running. I believe it's the swimming and the biking, or vice versa. I'm not really sure. Triathlon. I'm not in that community, but a lot of people would have wanted the swim event to not be last,
right?
Because of the aerobic and the stress, and you're tired and you're putting yourself in open water. It's a very dangerous situation. So they would have liked the swimming event to be first before all the other stuff. But again, these are professional athletes, and I'm not sure. But I think just to have two paddleboarders right there with Lazar in a dangerous situation, there should be more people. There should be more people looking out for the safety of these athletes, because kind of it gets a little stressful when you have somebody next to you and that there's a finish line right there, and you know, and you kind of feel and you can kind of hear somebody next to you. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a stressful situation because you're pushing yourself really hard. I don't know if you've ever done CrossFit before.
I have, yeah.
If you've done CrossFit in a competitive atmosphere, man, you are. I would speculate that it's kind of harder than doing regular sport, because you're really pushing yourself. You're mixing gymnastics. You're mixing heavy lifting, power cleans or cleans, snatches. You're doing bar muscle ups, ring muscle ups. You're doing stuff on your hands. I mean, and you're really pushing yourself really hard. You've seen these people after they do a workout, they just fall to the ground. They're rolling on the ground, breathing really hard. You don't really see that in sport. It's a really different stimulus that you're getting, and compile that with, you know, a lot of these people, a lot of these games athletes, you know, they're competing to win a prize. They're competing to win a prize money or a purse. And, you know, a lot of these people, you know, they train their whole year for this moment. And when you're pushing yourself that hard, especially in a swim event, and you know there's somebody next to you or there's people around you, I mean, that's a stressful situation to be in.
Dorian,
You know?
Dorian, the one group of people that I don't blame at all, and I think it would be completely ignorant of anybody to blame them, is the athletes that were participating.
Yeah.
Like anybody that has been in a team sport, participated in an individual sport, or any form of competition, you're locked in usually. You're worried about yourself for the most part.
Sure.
So, you know, for better or worse, sometimes athletes need somebody to step in and be like, hey, chill. But you brought up something I had no idea about, that Dave Castro was a Navy SEAL.
Yes.
That really connects some dots, because, correct me if I'm wrong, most times the athletes have no idea what the events are going to be. They don't know what, you laid that out a second ago, in what order they will be in.
Yes.
So it's a sticky one. Yeah.
With the CrossFit Games, leading up to the last day of the event, athletes are briefed. So there's a demo team, and they demo the workout, and athletes come in for briefing. So they actually know what the workouts are going to be, besides the last day. The last day of competition, where you don't know what the workouts are going to be. So in the CrossFit Games, it's usually a 3 or 4 day weekend. They will know what the workouts are going to be the day of, because they have athlete briefing. Yes. Well, they'll know the standards. They'll know the rules. They know where their hands have to be in a certain spot. If they're doing handstand push-ups, they know how to advance the barbell every 5 reps or 10 reps. They know all that stuff. Just the last day, they don't know what the last events are going to be. But it changes every year. Like 2 years ago, it was the top 10% of the Open went to quarterfinals. This past year was the top 25% of the Open that went to quarterfinals. So they have expanded the format to allow more people to compete, to really find the fittest person, or the fittest male and the fittest female in the world.
Interesting. I know you're really big in the fitness community. So what's the reaction been amongst your friends, colleagues, people at the gym?
I haven't really spoken a lot with my friends about it, but just looking at a little bit at social media and some of the big athletes like Laura Horvath, who won the CrossFit Games last year, she withdrew because she knew Lazar. Emotionally, these athletes were like, what the heck just happened? I just witnessed somebody pass away. How the heck am I supposed to give my 100% when I'm emotionally damaged? I don't know if you've ever exercised being emotionally damaged before, but I mean, it's a two very different. And if you watch the CrossFit Games, I watched a little bit of it. You could just tell these athletes, they weren't very mentally there. Like, you can't really compete and also grieve and also like have these different emotional feelings going into doing an event. A lot of the events or heats, because there's usually 4 heats, 40 people, 10 per heat.
Yeah.
After the heat was over, a lot of people would pay tribute. Like, there were people that wouldn't start the workout. They would wait a minute, because this is a different conversation. The tribute of Lazar was actually really underwhelming.
100%. I'm so glad you said that.
It was really sad to see. I mean, he only got about 20 seconds of silence, and there wasn't Dave Castro, the CEO. And I'm sure there's
spot on
the business aspect of it. I'm sure the lawyers of CrossFit were telling them, hey, don't say anything.
Then you don't do the games.
And you
cancel the games.
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, there's the other aspect. You can cancel the games, but there's the other aspect of it. Man, these people have been trained their whole year. They have to pay for their flight to get back home. They're not guaranteed any money. Like they here to win. You know, it's a sport, right? Not everybody.
Yeah,
can
no, I hear you.
So it's I mean, I would hate to be in that situation but I mean, nonetheless, it's still a tragic loss for the sport of CrossFit, for people that follow the CrossFit Games. And from what I've heard, I didn't know Lazar personally, but whenever you do CrossFit, in a competitive setting. There is a bond that is never broken, because the stimulus that you get from competing in CrossFit, from doing all these hard workouts, man, is something that you can really never compare unless you really compete at a high level in sport, such as, basketball, your traditional sports, right? It's a bonding that's never broken. But
you so piqued my thought, and you changed the way that I'm thinking about this in this sense, just about CrossFit in general. You saying that Dave Castro is a Navy SEAL, because you talking about now the bond, like everybody doing it together, getting through it. I immediately think Bud's training. If you're a Navy SEAL, you go through Bud's, you guys are going to be your SEALs for life, right? It's a brotherhood. So, like, I could see where there's a dangerous line there, really dangerous line.
Yeah, totally. I don't want to take up too much of your segment, Ryan. I want you to get to the sports and for what people are here for.
No, that's good stuff, Dorian.
If you ever have any questions, man, just hit me up. Obviously, I'm in the community. I've been doing CrossFit since 2015, so I'm pretty aware of what's going on. But rest in peace to Lazar and his family.
Amen.
Man, it's a tragic loss for the people in CrossFit, people that follow CrossFit.
Amen. Well said, Dorian.
Yeah.
Incredible segment, dude. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you,
I really
Ryan.
appreciate it.
Go Kings, man. Go Kings.
Yes, sir. Go Kings. Wow. What a segment. Incredible stuff from Dorian. That was the exact perspective. And I know the show just took a right turn. That was the perspective I wanted to hear from somebody that's involved in the sport. I spoke to somebody, and I talked about this last week when it happened. I spoke with somebody at the games that was covering the games, and it was more generalized around the reaction of the athletes. It was not more in depth in terms of, it was more about, should the games go on? That's what the conversation was. Do the athletes want the games to go on? That perspective from Dorian, really interesting stuff. It's not the end of this story by any means. In fact, I think if I went with my gut feeling right now, my gut tells me this story is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And I hope that I'm wrong there. I truly do. But it is certainly a story that we are going to stay tuned to. Hey, wanted to let you know we are brought to you by Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland. Hey, Brian sent me an email yesterday. If you don't know Brian, that's Brian Bennett, owner of all of the Bennett's restaurants. By the way, make sure you go to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can learn about all three of their locations. You can check out their incredible menu, literally the best menu, in my opinion, in Sacramento. But they are rolling out a summer meals special right now. That's right. You can get 2 courses for $30, excuse me. You can get 3 courses, $35. Tell me anywhere else you can find that in town. By the way, didn't mention their brunch, incredible 2 entrees, bottle of champagne, $49 on the weekends. Also, Monday night dining special. You can get a bottle of wine. And they've got a ton of great wines and 2 entrees for $69. Whatever it is, you can't go wrong. That's Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland. Huge thanks to Brian and the team for sponsoring the show. All right. Hey, don't forget, we are going to be back tonight at 8 o'clock. Really looking forward to that. Grant and I going to dive into a lot more of the Aaron Rodgers situation. We were talking about that last night before we were cut off due to internet problems. Also, if you haven't already, I mentioned this, or I've been mentioning it all week. It is time. You like fantasy football? Then you need to get up in our, if you don't like that, fantasy football pick'em league. So you get to pick every game against the spread this season against me, Grant, a bunch of our other great friends here in the community. Last year, Peter took home the trophy. The year before that, Sea Dog took it home. It is completely free to play. We're not going to blast you with a bunch of emails. It's a lot of fun. We've got community chats in there. And by the way, picking against the spread, not that easy. So there's the information for you. Go to Yahoo Fantasy Sports, type in the league ID, password 1011. If you have any issues, hit me up on Gmail, rhinoinsacktown@gmail.com. So the story we led with, the NBA schedule coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have the full schedule for your Sacramento Kings. But I can confirm I am hearing the exact same thing that Sean Cunningham of Fox 40 first reported, that the Kings, 5 of their first 7 games to open the season will be on the road. Then to close the season, 6 of their last 9 on the road. Now, earlier this week, we talked about 7 national TV games. So that is down considerably from last year. Dude, then pick them. Pick them, Adam. You want to pick them? Pick them. Let's see. Peter talking about Aaron Rodgers. It looks bad for the league when players are holding out for new contracts weeks before the league starts. It's part of the process, Peter. I agree with you. But it looks particularly bad for certain franchises. Like the situation with the Jets, that's worse. Now, the situation for the Niners, I want to make this clear. That is a real slippery slope. You have a guy who signed his name to a contract with a 5th-year option, team option on it. And now he doesn't want to play, but yet you're letting him hold in so he can avoid fines, but you're letting him talk to other teams to be traded. And that's one of your stars. So if you let that go on, what makes you think that other guys, I mean, here's a great example, Trent Williams, except he's holding out. You know, it sets a bad precedent. It basically says, if my part of the contract that was of benefit to me has ran out, and I say of benefit to me, guaranteed money, if that's gone, then I can put my foot down. I have the leverage as the player. And I think that in itself is problematic. I always say you got to have balance. It's got to be somewhere in the middle. And it's definitely not in the middle with those situations. I mean, all 3 of them really difficult to deal with. And it's part of pro sports. Look, the owners make a lot of money. I don't want to sit here and act like I feel bad for them, because I certainly do not. The players, I would say, especially the NFL salaries, unless you're Deshaun Watson, who, what a wreck by Cleveland, by the way. Absolute wreck. I would rather have Joe Flacco right now. Deshaun Watson, that has been one of the worst situations that I have seen probably in my time watching the NFL, for not only the reason that he basically skated by, but also Cleveland made concessions in his contract that year. He would be sitting out to ensure minimum liability financially. That's not good. I don't like that whatsoever. Let's go back to the phones. We are going to wrap up with my man, Mr. Moss. What's up, man? How you doing today?
Rhino, what's up, man? How you doing, buddy?
Brother? Good to see you.
Oh, man. Not too bad, man. Just saw you on and been kind of busy with work and stuff. So, but other than that, man, I can't complain. Are you talking about the Frisco situation?
Yeah, we were talking about Frisco a little bit.
With Ayuk?
Ayuk, yep.
Yeah, you got to pay the guy, man. Got to pay the guy. He made a great point. Ownership.
You're all in.
Tons of money. He's a big piece to what you want to do, right? Moving forward.
Yep.
You're knocking on the door. To lose that guy, Kittle's just getting a little bit older, right? Debo he's good, right? Yep. But I think Ayuk is, the guy that you can move forward with. And so, like you said, I mean, these ownerships across all the sports are just making tons of money, right? And so my question is, why is he not getting paid? I mean, so I don't know what this is. And sometimes these ownerships and coaches and GMs, they want to win on their terms. They're stubborn. You know what I'm saying? And they want to do
Totally.
things on their terms. We see it in the NBA all the time with head coaches. But hopefully they get it figured out, man, because, you know, if you're going to hold out, like you said, Rhino, you're going to lose some money here. And so they're at a stalemate, Rhino, right? I mean, I'm a man first, right? Like, pay me, you know?
Well, I mean, it's just bizarre because it's like you put your entire pile, you go all in on a hand, right? Say we're playing blackjack. You push your entire pile to the table, and then you get an 11. You've got to double down. You don't just like fold that or stay. You got to. It doesn't make sense, but I'm with you, man. The window's short. And by the way, if you look at the 49ers record, not one player, I'm going to mention 4 players: Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Debo, and Brandon Ayuk. When one of those 4 players misses a game, the 49ers are under 500.
Yeah, they are. And you brought up Trent Williams, who is a great offensive tackle or lineman, whatever he is.
Yep.
He had 2 crucial mistakes in the Super Bowl, you know, and he got paid, right? And so, I mean, listen, man, I mean, this thing is like a car. Like, you need the alternator, you need the engine, of course, you need the spark plugs. And so I think Ayuk isn't the main component, but he's a component, right? To say the least. So, but I won't keep you long because I know that you're up against it. I want to get your thoughts real quick. You saw the Steph Curry game versus France and and what transpired. Wasn't that just amazing?
Incredible.
And I got a chance to see Steph Curry this year. I've seen him quite a few times here in Sac, but I saw him this year in Sacramento. It was the first game of the season, first of Kings, and he didn't do that. But he hit some pretty big threes down the stretch, and he does the whole, you know what I'm saying, to the crowd. Would I be wrong if I said that? And what I'm about to say, I believe this. I think he has been the best player of the generation. And a lot of my friends do NBA podcasts, and when I make this statement, you know, they give me a side eye because everybody's programmed to think that it's LeBron James. I don't think that. I just don't, you know. And so when you hear me utter those words, you know, Stephen Curry is the best player of this generation. To that, what comes to mind?
The first thing that comes to mind is he changed 2 positions and he only plays 1. The second thing is I think there's a debate there. I certainly do. I don't think it's that crazy to say, Moss.
I agree, man. And the fact that you just said what you just said, and I'll take this stuff off air, is that long as there can be a conversation or a debate, like I hate when people just give me the eye and say, it's LeBron James. No, it's not. Like, I can argue Steph Curry. I can argue his offensive gravity on a basketball court, right?
You know what? Here's a simple litmus test. Did LeBron James change the game of basketball?
To me, no.
No. He was.
To me, no.
He's an incredible player. He's a generational talent. You know, he'll go down in probably the top 5 of all time. He's
top 11, 15 for me.
Top 15, 11. All right. But Steph, he's changed a generation.
Yeah.
The 3 ball is everything now.
Yeah.
Big men don't even really play down low anymore.
Yeah. He's changed how a team schemes defensively for him. Like, your defense has to be extended so beyond, you know, the normal feasible distance that it puts your defense in such a bad point. Last point, and then I'll go.
Yeah.
I mentioned gravity and impact because I can argue that Steph Curry makes his teammates better. Nobody's done it more than him in this generation. And it's not just him on the ball, but watch Steph Curry off the basketball and the way he's moving.
Yeah.
And you tell me how a defense reacts to that. And then real quick, too, people want to give credit. Oh, LeBron James spends $1 million on his body. So what? He still got tired. I can argue that Stephen Curry is the most conditioned NBA player of this generation. The guy never stops moving, and he hits shots from God knows where. And so these are conversations that don't be had often. I'll come a little bit earlier next time so we can really dive into it.
Yeah.
But always appreciate you, Rhino, man. And
appreciate you, buddy. Yes, thanks for checking in. Mr. Moss bringing the heat. That is almost a entire show. That's a recorded podcast conversation right there. Alex, what's up, man? How you doing today?
What's up, Rhino? How you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, dude, just wanted to kind of piggyback off the 49ers stuff. They're real fun to talk about right now. Yeah, I think you hit it right on the button. And I think something that people aren't really looking into, or even the casual fan, I guess you can say, it's easy to say they're a good team, right? 49ers are a good team. Obviously, they've been to playoffs, multiple championships, just haven't won it recently. But they just have so much damn talent just on defense. You know what I mean? You have the
Oh, yeah.
Greenlaws, the Bosas, the Frank Warners. I mean, who's to say those guys, like you said, the whole Ayuk situation is not playing out right, or the Trent Williams? What if one of those guys, the Greenlaws, the Bosas, the Warners say, hey, you know what? I think I'm the best in the world at my spot. Why don't I get an increase? And
It's
that's
a
what I
dangerous
meant.
precedent.
Yeah, it is. It's a dangerous game. And that's why I made the comment earlier about the negative domino effect of Purdy. Not saying Purdy's negative, but just a situation of what's transpired in today's NFL. Where, if, like I said before, if you would have told me 2 weeks ago that Jordan Love's going to be the highest paid quarterback or guaranteed quarterback, I would have laughed, to be honest. And now I'm thinking Purdy's going to get how much more than Jordan Love? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not
absolutely.
thinking, oh, is he going to get top 10, top 5? I'm wondering right now, damn, I wonder how much more he's going to get than Love. And that's
So,
what go ahead,
so-
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's really interesting, and I'm glad you brought this up. You're spot on. I think a lot of teams rush to get some of those deals in before the Brock deal.
Dude, agreed 100%. And it's more of, and here's the thing too, Raider fans out there, we need a quarterback. So it's great that the Niners have one. It's great that the Packers have one. So yeah, they get desperate. They want to pay him. Everybody wants the Mahomes. They want a Lamar Jackson. They want a Burrow. So when you do have it, you almost get forced to put everything all in on the table because, you know, it's hard to get one. I mean, if you don't have one, you kind of realize, well, damn, I kind of wish I had that guy. But again, like I was saying, we're all wondering now, how much is Purdy going to get next year? He's going to be more than Love. And that's what I mean by a domino effect being negative. Then you might have a Warner, a Bosa, a Greenlaw, even guys on offense, you know what I mean, that might say, I need a pay increase because I'm the reason we're keep doing this every year. My body's breaking down, as you said, the Super Bowl fatigue. We've been playing football so much more than everybody else. So I personally think this is the final year, maybe not the final year, but the most realistic year that they're going to win the Super Bowl if they do it. But we'll see. It's just fun to talk about.
You bring up such a good point because I can't articulate it, but in my gut, it feels like this year or bust.
Yeah, no, it is. And around the water cooler, like I said, 90% of my buddies are Niner fans, and that's the conversation we have basically every day in the group chat or together. And it's not. They first thought I was being negative. Oh, you're a negative Raider fan because your guys' team isn't good. It's like, dude, I'm being realistic. I'm an NFL fan too, and I like seeing other teams, what they do. I like seeing Hard Knocks. I like seeing the intricacies of what goes on behind the scenes. I love all that stuff. And they're an interesting team, but good because they're good. At the end of the day. And then one thing I wanted to bring up too, it's Wednesday. I want to maybe call it a wild card Wednesday. I asked before a while back, how did you become a Kings fan? I thought that was kind of fun. Just one question I want to ask is what, and maybe in the chat, what are your guys' favorite adult cartoon show, i.e. Simpsons, Family Guy, whatever the case may be. I'll go first since I brought it up. My all-time favorite is South Park. I think South Park is incredible. They don't cater to any side. They make fun of the left. They make fun of the right. They make fun of up and down, black, white. It doesn't matter. There is nobody safe with South Park. And like I said, whether what side you claim or what political party you like, you're getting made fun of. So I think it's hilarious. I think they almost never miss. I love South Park. I don't know. What's yours, Reno?
Well, South Park has Rush, so that's pretty cool. Let's see. I am not a big adult cartoon guy. I haven't seen a ton of them. Some Simpsons, which, by the way, my 9-year-old son has seen more of these than I have. Simpsons for sure. South Park, no. I would probably say South Park off the top of my head too, Alex.
Yeah, they're just so wild, but I feel like they have no limit. They're just such a crazy show. And like, I think they were trying to cancel themselves at one point, and man, and it's just impossible because they hit everybody, you know. I know there's the BoJack Horseman, Rick and Morty's pretty popular too. There's just a bunch out there, a lot of content. We could talk about that for days, but just wanted to bring up a fun question since we're in the dog game.
For sure, I appreciate that. I mean, we haven't even touched on anime. That's a whole world of its own.
You know, I haven't messed with that. Now, I did watch Pokemon and Digimon growing up, and I know that's considered one, but to the hardcores, I'm a casual. The hardcore anime,
Yeah.
they won't count that as real anime. So that I wouldn't be able to dive into too much.
Yeah, either can I. My wife, she used to like anime. Her brothers like anime. My son's a Pokemon kid, so
Yeah.
he watches that. But yeah, really interesting. I love the question, dude. Keep bringing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. For
Hey,
sure,
by
man.
the way, who's gonna have a better game against Dallas this weekend? Gardner or AOC?
I'm pulling for Gardner Minshew, but if AOC does better, I just want the Raiders to win. At the end of the day, if we can get us a wild card by the end of the year, I'll be happy. I'm not tribalistic like the other fan bases I was telling you about, the Raider fans going at each other. I don't really care who wins as long as we win, the Raiders win. But if I'm pulling for somebody realistically, I'm thinking Gardner just because he brings intangibles. He's been there, even though he's in the Pro Bowl last year. I don't count the NFL Pro Bowl too much because it's so many alternatives that get so many people deny it
It's
for
hard
the
to
next guy to
watch,
get
right?
in. It is. It's very hard to watch. But you know, Gardner brings something that Aiden doesn't, which is mobility, and I think you just need that in today's NFL. Unless you're Tom Brady, I don't know who's winning right now as a straight pocket passer like Aiden O'Connell is. Again, not trying to start another war as there's been wars in the past, but I think just to win, just to put a Band-Aid on the Raider team right now, put Gardner in there. You know, we have a few decent players. I don't know if the wild card thing is even realistic, but of course I'd like that. Of course I want to win, but I'm just excited for the NFL season in general.
Hey, man, I'm with you. Okay, last question, because I
Yeah.
got to ask it. I'm asking every Raiders fan this. Let's say, wild card, you guys start the season poor. Is Davante Adams finishing the year as a Raider?
No, 100% no. And I've came to, I don't know if you've seen the rumors maybe a couple of weeks ago, they were talking about doing a swap with Brandon Ayuk and Davante Adams because Niners are in win now mode. And I thought, you know what, that's a good trade for the 49ers because they are in win now mode right now. We are not. And I like Davante, but he's such a good player. I'd hate for him to get wasted continuously on here because he's 31, I think, and
Such
we're not
an interesting take.
Yeah, we're
Such
not
an
close to the Super Bowl. We're not close to the realistic thing is we're not close to the Super Bowl. They brought in Davante by using Derek Carr, one of his college quarterback, one of his best friends, as a bait and fish, and then they traded him right away. So it's like I kind of feel for the guy. I know he likes living in locally though because he has his family here. He even said I don't want to go back to Green Bay because he has his kids here. And he even said on the receiver show, his daughter was real sad playing in Green Bay because she couldn't play outside. It was too cold. He himself said he didn't like it. So I understand him liking it here, but I know he'd love it with the 49ers too. And again, true Raider fan, but I'm a realist at the end of the day. So I would take it because, or that trade because one, we might get a draft pick out of it. Two, Ayuk is 27, might fit our timeline better. Max Crosby's, 25, I
Great
think.
point.
And, yeah, a lot of our good players are in their 20s. Davante's a win now piece. And again, this is why I get roasted in Raider group chats and Raider chat rooms because they don't like hearing that stuff. And again, I don't want to go on a tangent of that kind of Raider fan, but that's just what I think. If we do start poorly, I say, yeah, trade him to a contender. I think Davante deserves a title.
Yeah, you're well, I appreciate that viewpoint, but you're realistic too. If it's not going to happen this year, we got to start building at some point for the future because you've had multiple bad years in a row. So that's draft picks, that's whatever. But that's so interesting from a Raiders fan because you're seeing both sides of the road. I really like that, Alex. Love it.
Yeah, I gotta say it's difficult. I think that's why a lot of my buddies are of other teams, 49ers, Rams, a lot of Cowboy fans out here too. But I get along with Raider fan, as you say, but not a lot of them because They're very tribalistic, very aggressive. Don't want to think things through. They don't want to hear realism. So I get roasted a lot with it, but I like having these conversations of both sides, of being realistic, of the future. Because regular Raider fan, I'd say casual Raider fan does not want to hear that at all.
Dude, I think it's great. And by the way, just for the record, you Raider fans are nothing like Niner fan. So you guys are so much better than Niner fan. Your worst Raider fan is still better than a Niner fan, in my opinion.
I think you're saying that because you're a Seahawks fan. So
I'm
get
not,
that.
dude. Niner. I'm okay. I'll for the record, Niners fans, before you jump on my back, I have no problem with the dedicated hardcore Niner fans.
Yeah.
But I do have a problem with all the bandwagoners that jump on usually about week 12, week 13. They get their first jersey that before the first playoff game, then they return it before the Super Bowl's over. It's like, come on. Like, I don't like that. Like, they're seasonal fans. Seasonal.
No, and I agree with that, but I will say you see that with every team that's winning. I've seen brand new Chiefs gear here in California too. I say of course the Warriors stuff happens. I think any team that's good, that happens. You know what I mean? You're gonna get those bandwagon fans.
Yeah.
Now go ahead.
I was gonna say so in San Diego, so that's where I went to college. I've been to Raider Charger games, and that used to be called Hell Week because the fan bases hated each other so much. And I've been to Niners games, and I feel like Niners fan conduct, just stirring the pot was always worse than Raider fan.
That's interesting because we didn't have season tickets, but we used to go to about 4 or 5 games a year when the team was in Oakland, up until they moved. And I want to say about 80% of the fights I saw were Raiders versus Raiders. It wasn't Raiders versus the other team. It was just too much liquor, too much shit talking, excuse my language, and it just happened. And it was always, almost always with Raider fans fighting Raider fans. So I had a bad connotation growing up with it, and it kind of stuck with me to now. Only been to the new Vegas Stadium once, but it's a way different atmosphere. It's more touristic, you know. And, yeah, but it's still, still fun, just not as easy to get to as when it was in Oakland.
No doubt, no doubt. Does that thing really look like a Roomba in person?
Oh, it looks incredible. I mean, it's honestly, it's incredible. I mean, I hate to be that guy, and again, hardcore, crazy Raider fan will get at me for this, but that Oakland Stadium was a piece of shit.
Oh,
it was so bad, dude.
Terrible. If Oakland Raider fan gets at you for that, it's only because of nostalgia. Like, we look at Arco Arena as Kings fans.
Yeah.
It was a dump. It still is a dump.
Yeah.
It literally has like one way in, one way out for the fans. And the last time I was at that stadium, the parking was more than the tickets cost.
Oh, Jesus.
Stupid. Yes. Stupid.
That's the only thing I miss about old Arco Arena is they have their own car parking complex, whereas the new King Stadium, you kind of have to get a little parking garage, but there's plenty of parking anyway. I just kind of liked the closed off stadium closed off parking that it had. But yeah, I agree 100%. It was pretty bad, but there is nothing worse than that old Oakland Stadium. That thing was, dude, just so many stories when I was a kid, just pipes being busted and, broken concrete. And dude, it was just crazy how even as a kid, I was noticing, man, this place is worse than my high school stadium. This is terrible.
That place was
garbage.
Ugh, terrible stuff. All right, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate the call. Good stuff.
Awesome. Also, everybody check out UFC 305 this week. It's going to be awesome. Adesanya versus Duplessis. Ryan, if you have a chance, go check that out. It's going to be a fantastic pay-per-view.
I will do that. Thanks, Alex. Killed it, guys. Dude. Love it, man. The callers have made the show today. Made the show. And if Grant is seeing this right now, I'm going to get yelled at for the light right there. Sorry, guys. Been dealing with a little something, as you know. Too bad that was a late question about the animated TV shows, because we got to get out. There is a lot still that I wanted to talk about, but that's okay. Great show today, y'all. And thanks for hanging in there with me. I know my voice has been a little bit raspy. C-Dog, I saw your question about Eli. Definitely a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. I don't know if he's a first ballot, though. Definitely a Hall of Famer, maybe not a first ballot. Definition of, I know it's a bad term to some people, but a career game manager who showed up as well in the big games as he did in the ones that really didn't matter. Hell, I think Eli, he changed that franchise for that period of time. It was incredible. And think about what the Giants had to do to get him as well. That's the other thing people don't realize. I was in San Diego when Eli said, I will not play for the Chargers. I was at Eli's first game in San Diego. It was a Monday Night Football game. Told a story about the fans that night. That was really, really bad. But hey, we got a lot more. We'll not wrap up the week. Tomorrow's Thursday. We'll continue with some of the stories we did not get to. Again, great calls today. Kevin, thanks for getting home to watch live. I really, really appreciate it. Love seeing everybody in the chat. Don't forget, make sure you are subscribed to If You Don't Like That. That is where our entire library of programming here on the channel lives, including all of our Kings pregame, halftime, postgame shows. 69 days away. 69 days away from the start of the NBA season. Really looking forward to it. Can't wait to get back into the saddle and ride again with Napes, and hopefully we will have Jerry at halftime again. We'll give you updates on that. But Grant and I will be back tonight, 8 o'clock. And I am pretty damn sure he's not going to have any tech issues. So we'll have a normal show. Should be a lot of fun. A lot of good topics to talk about, including the continuation of that Aaron Rodgers conversation. If you're going to tune in tonight and you have not read the article, go to the New York Post. Read the article about the fracture between Aaron Rodgers and his family. Really interesting. That's your homework for the 8 o'clock show tonight. But super excited for that. Make it a great rest of the day. Thank you again, everybody, for showing up big as you always do. Again, our leading story, the Kings schedule comes out tomorrow. Tomorrow we will know for sure. We've been doing all this reporting and saying we're hearing this, hearing that. But I will say everything we've been hearing has been right up until this point, including the date that the schedule would be released yesterday. I said I think it's going to be Thursday. It is going to be tomorrow, Thursday. And the news today, as first reported by Fox 40's Sean Cunningham, the Kings will open up with 5 of their first 7 on the road and then end the season with 6 of their last 9 also on the road. I can verify and confirm that. Good job by Sean. We'll know the rest tomorrow, but make sure you're back later tonight, 8 o'clock, for Napes and Rhino.
Holy moly, Jimbaboli.
Go Kings, light the damn beam. Court is, I guess, dismissed, but you're kind of in recess until 8 p.m.